Hey, what's going on, guys? This is a video lesson on Sultans of Swing by Straits. It's one of my favorite guitar tunes, I would have to say, of all time. Guitar work in the song was amazing, so I was really looking forward to doing this lesson. So, basically, the way this song works is every single verse has a different set of fills in it. Okay, so basically the way he's doing these fills is he's just playing on the chords. Alright, so in this lesson, I linked you to the lesson, one of the free lessons that I did on caged, C-A-G-E-D, the concept of caged. That's how you move chord shapes around up and down the neck. So if you're not familiar with that, check that lesson out. But as we go through this, lesson, I'm going to refer to the shapes of caged that he's using, because that's how he's able to just make his fills sound so perfectly. Okay. So you'll see what I'm talking about as we work through the lesson. But basically, since every verse is different, I've divided this lesson up so you could reference back to any point at any time. That way, because it's going to be about an hour or so long, so that way you don't have to search through to find the part you're looking for. So the way the lesson's divided up is you have the intro, then you have verse 1-1, then verse 1-2, then verse 2-1, then verse 2-2, then verse 3, because verse 3 is half the length of the first two verses. Then you have solo 1, then you have verse 4, then you have solo 2. And that's the whole structure of the song right there. So that way, at any point in time, if you're listening and you're, okay, like, alright, what did he do with that fill there? You don't have to go and try and figure out where in the video I put that particular point of the lesson. So all you have to do is be like, okay, that's the third verse, or that's the second half of the second verse, or whatever, so you can always refer back to it at any time. So that's how this lesson is going to be broken down. And in the solo sections, I teach the solos in a manner where first I play the solo at regular speed, and then I break down each part of the solo to show you how each of the phrases is done within the solo. And then I play the solo at half speed with the tabs on the screen so you can follow along and see what I'm doing and really hear how it goes, along to the music. So with that said, expect to be about an hour, maybe even longer. I'm not exactly sure yet because I'm just starting, but yeah, stick with it and have fun. Alright, so for the intro of the song, this is pretty much the only time that he actually just rides on this D minor chord here. For the remainder of the song, he walks through the chord sequence, which we'll get to in the next section. But for just the intro of the song, the rhythm section is just riding on the D minor chord here, the D minor bar chord, 5th fret, A string, and he does kind of one of these like. Kind of like a rhythm like that, okay? And the leads that he's doing over top of it is, this is the only time I'm going to use a pick too for this song. For the remainder of the song, I'm going to be using my fingers, but just for this one part, I like to use a pick. For this and the solos, I use a pick, but for the remainder of the song, it's all finger style stuff. You can use a pick throughout the whole song, but you may find it easier to use your fingers. So the intro leads that he's doing, he's just going. Okay, just as the tabs say, right on the G string, 5th to 7th fret, and then he slides up to the 7th fret on the D string, slides up to the 7th fret on the D string, and then hits the 7th fret on the G string, and then, okay, so we have. Okay, and then he does a little one of these arpeggios on the D minor chord here, like. So we have. Alright, and then I have the rhythm of just that D minor chord looped, so it sounds like this. Okay, so he's just doing that, and that's in the intro. And then after the intro, the remainder of the song is he's going to be using other chords other than just the D minor, and we'll get to that right now. So that's the intro. Alright, so before we get into all these cool fills that he does and all that stuff, first let me explain how the verses and choruses, if you want to call it choruses, of the song go. Okay, so the entire song consists of the D minor bar chord here, and then a C major bar chord here, and then a B flat major bar chord here, and then an A major chord, and then an F major chord up here, and then a C major chord here, and a B flat major chord here. Okay, so all the verses and choruses are some combination of that. So the way the verses goes, the rhythm behind the verses, where he's doing all the cool fills, goes. Alright, so that's the verse structure. Now the chorus uses the same chords, but played a little differently. So and again, when I say the chorus, this is just the break between verses 1 and 2 and verses 2 and 3. Okay, so this is just a musical break in between each of the verses. Okay, so this goes like this. Okay, so that's the whole song. Now, as we get into the verse section, I'm going to show you each of the fills, and I'm going to show you what chord he's playing each of the fills over. That way, you can always relate the fills to the underlying chord, because that's how he's making this sound so good. That's how music is done. You relate the leads to the chords, and that's how you really get your music to sound amazing. Okay, so again, he's using the caged system. He may not call it the caged system, but that's the way of doing what he's doing. Okay, he's using caged shaped chords. Alright, so with that said, let's get on to verse 1. Alright, so here's verse 1-1. Alright, this is the start of all the cool fills. Alright, so again, the reason his fills sound so good is because he's relating it to an underlying chord. Alright, so whatever the underlying chord is within the progression, that's what note he's usually landing on, one of the chord tones. Alright, so first I'm going to walk you through each of the fills, and then I'm going to play the entire section over my looped chord progression, which I have stored already. Alright, so the first one, it goes. Alright, so he's at the A chord, right? So his first fill is just a simple bend on the 4th fret of the G string. And he actually kind of goes. But the note he's bending up to is the note here. Okay, and that's actually the 3rd of the A chord. Alright, so he's using that A shape. Okay, there's an A down here. There's an A here. Alright, so that's the benefit of understanding this whole caged concept. So you know all your different shapes for different chords, okay? So again, I linked you to the free lesson that I have on caged, in case you don't understand that. So that's his first fill. Bending up to the note A. Then the second one he does. And he goes. And again, he's just playing on that A shape again. He's playing over the A chord, and he's just using notes from that chord. Alright, so far we have. moves to the F. The rhythm section moves to the F. And this little fill is. And the reason he's landing down there is because the rhythm is at a B flat at this point. Okay, and that's part of the B flat chord. Okay, B flat chord here, B flat chord here. Okay. Alright, and then the last fill is. Okay, and he's at the C at that point. Okay, so that's why he's landing on there. The rhythm section is. So he's going. And this will make more sense in a second once I play this over my looped chord progression. Okay, and then I just wanted to give you the one last fill before I do the whole thing. It just goes. So that little fill there happens before the start of every next verse section. So, alright, so every time he comes out of a chorus, he always does that, and I think every time in between verses. So you have in between verse 1-1 and verse 1-2, he does that. So he does that quite often, and you'll see as we go through the song that he keeps coming back to that. But aside from that, everything keeps changing, alright? Every verse is different in itself. So, let me play this chord progression so you can hear how this sounds. And that thing that he's doing right there, that leads right back into the D minor. Okay, so everything is nice. Everything is really nice. And you'll see as we go through this whole lesson, you'll see at every single one of his fills is intelligently mapped out such that it fits over the chords. Alright, so that's verse 1-1. Now we move on to verse 1-2. Okay, so now we're on verse 1-2. And the the progression is still the same. Alright, so his first fill again occurs over that A chord, and again he's playing on this A shape here. And he's going. So he's not always using the notes of the A, but he's using notes within the scale around that shape. Last note that he ends on, which is this 6 on the B string, that's actually a note of the D minor chord, because that's the start of the progression again. Okay, so he's going. Alright, so it all fits nicely together. So fill that he does is again over an A chord, only now he's using this A shape up here. If you know the caged system, it's the this is the C shape it's called. It's still an A chord, it's an A major chord, but it's the C shape. And he's going. So he's not just using the tones of the A major chord, but he's starting off with that shape and then playing notes within the scale. Okay, so this is the key of D minor. The whole song's in D minor, so he's using the D minor scale, but he's playing off primarily chord tones within the scale. So. And then that goes right into the F. So far we have. You'll hear that that my timing will be a lot better once I demonstrate it over the looped chord progression. Okay, so now we're at the F. Okay, so that little thing that he does there, he does that a lot in this song. That's just playing on the C and the B flat chord. Okay, so you have a C here, and you have a B flat here. Okay, and then the last thing that he does is he goes. Okay, so it's easier to use your second and third finger here on the 2 on the 10th fret. And then that way you can slide down your first and second finger for the 9 and the 8. And then use your second finger to bar the double 10 again. So just as the tabs say. Alright, so let me demonstrate this over the looped progression. Okay, so a couple things to note is sometimes he's delaying it. So sometimes when he's on the A, he'll be like. So he'll let the A ring out for a little bit. And then the next time it's. Alright, so one more time just so you can pay attention to that aspect. So, exactly as the tabs say, just do that, listen to what I'm doing, and then practice along with the song, obviously. And so here's this verse 2-1. Alright, so things start to get a little bit more technical here. The fills get a little bit more fancier, but at the same time, they're also that much more amazing sounding. So again, each one relates to the underlying chord of the progression, and I'll show you how that's done. So the first one, the rhythm's the same. So he's playing on the A chord here, and he's going. So that's the start of the A chord, right? So you're using the A chord of the C shape, but you're just using the top 2 notes of it, and you're just sliding down a fret. And then when he hits that double 10, that's the D minor chord again. You know, if you have a whammy bar, he uses some tremolo there, or you could just kind of give it some vibrato if you don't have a whammy bar. Alright, so he's going. So as soon as he hits that double 10, that's played over, you know, played over the D minor chord. Alright? So then it goes around again. And then this one goes. Oh, I'm sorry. Now, you want to finish your bend. You want to finish this phrase with this bend here. Full bend. And the reason you want to finish with that full bend is because that's the note of the F chord. That's the third of the F chord right here. Okay, so he's going. Alright, so again, it's going to be a lot easier to see how this all fits together phrase-wise once I do the demonstration over my looper pedal. But for now, we're just going to walk through each section of it. And then you have. So played a little slower, it's. So just as the tabs say, bend. Okay, so that's that phrase. Alright, and the next phrase, he's now playing over. Okay, so now he's going to play on the fact that you're landing on a B flat chord. And this is a very, very, very beautiful sounding phrase, okay? So what he does is you want to start out with your middle finger, giving you the finger here. So you want to start out with your middle finger, slide from the 7 to the 9, and then you want to go. Okay, and you'll hear how that fits in nicely once I do the demonstration over the loop pedal. So then he does another one of these. And that leads right back into the next section. Okay, so we went over that in the last section. And then this one right here leads you back into the D minor. Okay, because that's the D minor chord right there. That's the note he's ending on, part of the D minor. So, without trying to butcher this anymore, let me just play this part over the progression. So you have. Yeah, that sounds a lot nicer when you have a rhythm to play over. It's very hard to demonstrate without this without the rhythm behind me. Okay. Okay, so here is verse 2-2. All right. This one's not too bad. You have a little bit technical fill, but you know I'll show you how that's done. So again, rhythm goes. And the first fill is just doing, since he's playing over the A chord, he's just doing, it's basically an A power chord. But it's done on the D and the G string. Okay, and he uses some tremolo here. Alright, and then it goes back into the... And then this is kind of a mix between, again, he's playing on the A chord. So this is a mix between this A shape, well, I'm sorry, it's the C shape of the A chord, and this A chord here. Okay, so it's going. Alright, I don't think he actually strums that whole chord there, not like it's going to hurt if you do, but he's just kind of going, just hitting the high note of that, so it's... I like to strum the whole chord though because it's easier and it sounds good. Alright, so you have. So it's... Okay, and then he's on the F again. And that's another one of these, which we've already went over. Alright, and the last fill is... Slide from the 5 to the 7, and then 7, 7, and then... And this leads you right back into the chorus. So let me play this over over the looped rhythm here. So you have... leads you right back into the chorus. Alright, and again he does... Okay, so back into the chorus and then back into that little riff. This is verse 3. It still has the beautiful fills that sound amazing over the chords. So the progression is still the same. Okay, and that first fill that you see on the screen here is actually what leads out of the chorus. Okay, I told you that every time a new verse starts, it goes. So if you want to take it from there, you can go. And then the stuff where you see the 12 bendy things, that's the first fill, okay? So that's going. Alright, and that note that he's hitting right there, that's the high note of a D minor chord. Okay? So he's using this D minor chord shape, and that's where that note's coming from. That's why that note sounds so good. Okay, so he's going. Actually, both of those notes are from the D minor chord. Alright, and again, you're going to hear how this fits in with the music once I play it over the looper, over the looped rhythm. Alright, and then it goes back around the progression. And he's playing over an A chord here, and he's just doing this A arpeggio here. Okay, this is the C shape from the caged system of the A chord. And this is actually part of that too. So he's just going. And then he ends this phrase on the double 10, which is the D minor chord again. Oh, I'm sorry. In this case, it's the F major chord. Okay. Oops. Alright, you'll hear how this all fits together, you know, once I play the demonstration. Alright, so then you have... And then I already showed you this fill. Remember, start off with your middle finger. Alright. And then you have... Alright, so the whole thing. Alright, so before we get started on this solo, first let me just give you the rhythm. The rhythm that he's playing over, the chord progression, is the same as the verse. Okay, so the verse is... and then it goes back into another chorus. But that's the rhythm he's playing over. So, the start of the solo goes bend on the 12th fret, G string. Okay, so just follow along the tabs. It goes... Okay. I sometimes pick the notes and sometimes I hammer. Or sometimes just hammer pull. Whichever feels more comfortable. So it's... Alright, and then he's playing over the A chord now, so he's doing one of these A arpeggios using the, the shape again. So it's... Okay, so just play it over the, just that much of it. Alright, and the next thing is, it's basically just a D minor arpeggio, which is taken from the full bar chord shape. So, okay, so you have... So he's really heavily playing over these chord shapes. Alright, and then the next thing is he goes... Okay, so far. Alright, so that's two of these. And now he goes into the F. Okay, so you have... Alright, now it's a nice little bend. Just following right along with the tabs. Alright, so it's... Alright, exactly as the tabs are saying. So you have... Alright, so far we have... And then he's bending up here. Alright, and then he's doing a little pentatonic thing here in the D minor pentatonic area. So he's going. And then going. Alright, so if you're somewhat of an intermediate guitar player, which I'm assuming you are if you're watching this video, then you know that you probably already know these signature pentatonic licks, you know? Alright, so far we have... Okay, and then the last part of the solo is played over that. So he's playing it over that the B flat to the C there. So he's just doing these little arpeggio runs. He's going. Okay, so. So the second time he goes, and then he finishes it up with by going alright, kind of how similar to one of the fills that he was doing in the verses to lead back into the D minor chord. Alright, so just as the tabs say, you just want to practice your timing, and this will probably be easier once I do the slow demo with the tabs, so you can follow exactly how everything goes over the chord progression. So let me try and play this up to speed so far what we have. So there's a couple mistakes there. As I said, it's hard to get it perfect every single time. But now that I showed you every part, let me do the slower version of it, and I'm going to make sure that I have the slow version of it with the tabs 100% correct. That way I'm not confusing you. Okay, so let me get on to that. Alright, so here you have verse 4. Okay, so verse 4 comes right out of the solo number 1. Actually, I'm sorry, solo number 1 goes right into a chorus again. So you end that solo, and then it goes right back into the and then he does that little riff. I told you he does that little riff before every verse, so that leads you right into verse 4. Okay, so that's that first riff that you see on the screen. Alright, so now he's back into the verse rhythm again. And now this rhythm goes. timing is best demonstrated by having a rhythm to play over. So let me show you that. Okay, so it starts on that part of the A. So it's like, alright, so. One more time. Alright, so the fingering I'm using is, I don't know if it's technically correct, but I'm starting out with my middle finger so I can go, and then I can use my third finger, and then I can slide my second and third up to the 9, and then, so. Alright, so that's that one. And then the second time around it goes, and he's going. He's just hitting a little A7 chord. So again, this comes from this A major shape. He's playing over the A chord, which is, okay, but instead of playing just the top portion, which would work too, but he's moving the note here on the 10th fret B string down to the 8th fret B string to make it an A7 chord. Okay, so it's still working from this shape, just taking into account that the root is here, and if you move the root down 2 frets, it becomes an A7 chord. And that's played over the A of the rhythm. Okay, so far we have. Okay, now it goes to the second half of the verse, which goes. Alright, now the second half of this verse is, you know, since it's the F and the C and the B flat, what he's doing is he's going, and then he's sliding up to the, but he times that such that it lands when the B flat chord is occurring. So he's going. Alright, because that note right there, or that comes from the B flat chord using the shape. So he's going. So far we have. Okay, and then the final thing that he does, he goes. So it's just another one of these. I think we already did that one of the previous verses. Then it leads you right back into the chorus, and then right into solo number 2. So let me try to play that again. Okay, right back into the chorus. So that pretty much is everything for all the fills. That's pretty much everything for all the fills in the 4 verse sections, okay? So you have verse 1-1 and verse 1-2, then you have verse 2-1, verse 2-2, then you have verse 3, and then you have verse 4, okay? Verse 3 and verse 4 are actually shorter. So now we go into solo number 2, and I'm going to teach that in the same manner that I taught solo number 1 in. Okay, so this solo is actually played over a slightly different rhythm than the previous solo. This solo the whole entire time just goes. Okay, so it does that the entire time. Alright, so with that said, this starts out again with a bend on the 12th fret of the G string. It goes. Alright, that's the first part, and then it goes. It bends, and then it comes down, and then it hits the 12 again, so it goes. So it's a series of hammers. Okay, I don't know if he actually goes down to the 3-5, but he stops on the 5-7, so it goes. Okay, so you see how I'm going after I finish that bend? So I'm bending and then I'm hitting the 12 again. So far we have. Okay, I see what I'm doing. So I'm actually coming down and hitting the third fret of the A string before I start the next phrase. Okay, so you know, if that's in the tabs, it's just kind of like a lead-on note. You know, it's not 100% necessary because the rhythm takes care of that because it's on the C. So I'm just kind of hitting the note C. So. Okay, so we didn't get to that part yet. So one more time. Okay, so if that 3 isn't in the tabs, just add it there, you know. The important part is the hammer. Okay? Okay, so that's that. Then the next part of the phrase is, it's really cool sounding. It's actually not that hard, so it goes. So it's 10-8 on the B string. 10-8 on the B string, and then 10 on the G string. And then you're ending on the 7th fret of the G string. Okay, and then you want to set yourself up for this by using your middle finger on the 9th fret of the G string. So it goes. And then you want to do. Alright, you only want to pick the E string, okay? So you only want to pick, and then you want to hammer with the rest of the note. Okay, I had to slow it down or speed it up to see what I actually do. So I'm hitting the note on the G string, the 9th fret G string. And then I'm plucking the E string too. And then I'm using just a hammer pull, but I'm not picking that B string, so I'm going. Okay, so it's going. Okay. It's very hard to play this slow. Okay, when I do the slow demonstration at the end, you can get your timing down and figure out exactly what works best for you and how to do all this. But so far we have. Okay, so I think he does it like 5 times. You're just going to have to play along with the music to get your timing down. And then he does just a little rake on the strings. No notes, just muted strings. And then he moves up to a signature pentatonic lick, which I use all the time in my solos, which I stole from this song. So it goes. Then it goes. Okay, so exactly as the tabs say. So far we have. Okay, and then it does a little rake. Okay, so rake up to the 11th of the B, or I'm sorry, 10th of the B, and then rake up to the 11th of the B, and then you bend. Okay, bend, grab the 12, then release the bend and grab the 10. Okay, so from here. Alright, so that's what we have. And then he does these little triads here, okay? So I didn't write out the entire tab for every single one that he does, but just know that the rhythm goes, it starts on the 10th fret and it goes. Okay, so it's gone. So it played slow. See how I'm doing it? I'm starting on the B string. Played fast. Okay, so he keeps that same rhythm up the entire time, and he's just kind of making slight alterations to this little triad. So it starts out with this triad, and then he just puts his middle finger down on the 11th fret and keeps all his other fingers in the same spot. And then he slides up to this position, 13, 12, and 15. So he's playing that for twice as long, okay, that triad. So it's. Okay, so I may be extending that a little longer than it's supposed to be, but once I do the slow demo with the tabs, you'll hear how everything fits over the chords. Okay, that's the best way to describe this stuff. All right, so then after those little triads, you're pretty much done the solo. You just have this one last part because it bends on the 15. Okay. And then. So it's the same kind of thing as when he did all the hammers down here, except now you're just doing them up here. So. And then that's the end of the solo. just the chorus from there, and then it's the end of the song. All right, so that's the entire song of Sultans of Swing. That was a long lesson, but you got through it. It took a very, very long time to do that lesson, so I'm make sure to edit it out to cut out all the crap that I did, and hopefully only leave you with the correct stuff. But if I did make any mistakes at any point in this video, or if there's anything that you don't understand, or if anything that I left out, feel free to contact me, and I'll make sure I correct that, or make sure I fix my mistakes. But that was the entire song. So you have the intro, then you have verse 1-1, then you have verse 1-2, then you have verse 2-1, verse 2-2, then you have verse 3, then you have solo 1, then you have verse 4, then you have solo 2, and then it's the end of the song. Okay, so that's the structure of the song. So at any time you can refer back to this video and just look at whatever section you need to look at in order to, touch up on what you need to touch up on. All right, so with that, thanks for watching.